What's going on, family? Welcome back to the channel. Do you trust the headlines right now? Do you trust everything that's going on? And I'm hoping that we do get this 6.6 trillion into the market, but it does make me cautious. It makes me slightly on the edge in terms of where we could go next. Would we see one last correction? Because these headlines are coming now. They are coming thick and fast. And in my opinion, I think we need to pay extra attention to what happens in the markets. Wall Street braces for $6.6 trillion as the Fed shifts amid Bitcoin price surge. We've heard that before. But what is this price surge that everyone's talking about, right? Technically speaking, Bitcoin has kind of gone up, but right now it's back down to 113. Pretty good considering that the weekly RSI is obviously very important and resetting. So right now, just under $114,000. But what does that really suggest? What does that signal for us? Now, we've got a massive week in terms of FOMC. And these are all mini, what I call macro events that come together to form the perfect storm. So, of course, Wednesday we'll be covering the meeting, and of course there is the Asia Summit that's happening. There is the SEC verdict on BlackRock's stake in ETH. There's a lot of things happening this week. This week is absolutely mental. Coinbase earnings. So we have volatility that's going to be absolutely coming, and people are genuinely scared. I mean, when you look at the headlines, so let's decipher this one as well. This is crypto Twitter, obviously often misleading people. And I'd love to be wrong. Listen, hey, if our bags melt up, right, none of us will be complaining, right? None of us will be complaining. So I really don't mind. Look, it is meant to be October. It is meant to, look, this cycle is very tiring. We're supposed to be absolutely starting to thinking about pulling out of the market very soon. But what you have here is Bitcoin has reached 115 right now, just underneath 114. But if you look at what people are saying, turning the monthly returns into a positive 0.9, not even 1% year to date. And this price hasn't even held. And this is why sometimes you've got to be super careful. Look, we're no longer at 115. So what are we talking about? A lot of this could be misleading, in my opinion. Fear and greed index has rose to a neutral 51. 51, of course, fear levels above 50, reflecting an ease selling pressure into the market. I agree. And historical patterns of the price and the month. So James Wynn came out of this. And now this is something that we all just need to pay attention to. Now, this guy obviously was the man, and then he got wiped out. So now what he's calling for is the price to go to these crazy levels, really. I mean, just above $78,000 or $80,000. That is absolutely insane. That looks like a guy who has been completely murked and submerged by market conditions. He is absolutely, feeling this, and I don't blame him. So what he's saying here is, Mr. Win, it's like a very healthy correction is in order, in my opinion. Could well be. This is why I'm giving both sides the credence in terms of us being allocated versus a complete market annihilation. Now, of course, you don't sell all your crypto on the final hour before an FOMC meeting and potential rate cuts into, and easing macro conditions. But we want to actually look beyond the headlines, okay? So Bitcoin, you would agree with me, that is in a very much a critical conjuncture. So Wednesday, we are going to be live at 10:15 Dubai time, 2:30 Eastern, to cover what Powell has to say. But part of Bitcoin's critical decision time also comes in a slew of headlines, seeing what's going on. US government burden on track for Italy's IMF figures show whatever. So the headline, the US debt may come into a contention or discussion next year. But in my opinion, we are seeing the market absolutely go nuts in terms of the stock market. We're also seeing Donald Trump's meeting with Japan's new prime minister, Senior Takaichi. So there's a lot going on, and this is why I'm saying Bitcoin is at a critical juncture with all eyes on the Fed meeting. But FOMC meeting on the 29th alone will not be the catalyst. Let's break it down. So if you look at the overall pivots, in reality, what the Fed has to do, right? So if it's going to be if the pivot is coming, we know price of gold is coming down. If the price of gold comes down, we know Bitcoin's already in rotation, right? The rally could be a confirmation. If the Fed, of course, announces a pivot into the quantitative easing, I think we see the markets melt up. But would they do that right now? We don't know. And based on what I'm seeing right now, right, this is all leverage trading, open interest. But look at the stuff like Trump, Melania. These are all, H-bar is pumping. The market is 55% long. Long versus shorts. And of course, fear and greed is up 2% once again. But what you're seeing is liquidations are remaining flat pretty much. So if the market is 55% long, right, alt season score is still 43, so under 50%. What are we going to see that is going to dramatically shift the landscape? In my opinion, if we look at what Trump is doing in Asia, very positive. And if you look at the Fed meeting with the economy the way it is, and Thursday as well is a massive day because we do get job data. So this is all key, right? If Powell suggests that the rates have peaked and that the next move is going to be a signal of a complete macro liquidity change, we are going to see a crazy, it's going to weaken the dollar even more, right? Inflation is tame. This is what we want, right? Data has already suggested that inflation is low, but if it's falling faster than expected, and he comes out with that, after, of course, Trump also makes these deals over there in the Far East, that could also be a very good reason to be optimistic. The Fed's painful medicine is working, and that finally they are going to stop tightening altogether. He has already indicated that, but Bitcoin is like a liquidity sponge, so we should see the market pushing towards quantitative easing and ending QT. Whether that happens this year or next year is what I'm actually looking for in his tone, in his speech. The total crypto market cap here, if you could see, has actually dipped by 2%. So the headlines, beyond the headlines anyway, other things are there for us to visibly see. Okay, this is very important because if the market is dipping and the price is rising, normally what it means, even 24-hour volume here is lower, right? You're seeing a slight dip in the 24-hour volume. People are being super careful. Very, very, very important for you to understand these things, because honestly, this is how you're going to make money. Maybe you're in the sidelines trying to buy additional coins and you have that FOMO feeling. So stay patient and let the market play out. Let the macro play out, in my opinion. The word pivot doesn't even hint at an immediate change, but what it does is it gives the market more confidence. And of course, the tone of the inflation and how he talks about inflation, that will also be key. And the outlook for 2026, further rate cuts into 2025. These are all going to be very important for us to look out for. Okay. So in my opinion, I think you need to be very optimistic, but cautiously optimistic, in light of these dynamics that are happening. Like I said, Bitcoin's up over the last 7 days, about 5%. XRP, you're seeing the big caps here relatively stabilized, but not all of them. Okay, not all of them. If you can see here, you know, things like Hyperliquid have been running like insane. Bitcoin Cash is up 19%. But if you really go through the top 20, look, there is crashed and up 20%. These are indications for me that things are going to get better for us. But is the entire market up to where it needs to be? And the answer is obviously no. So you do have significant discounts. If you look at this, you do have significant discounts across the market. You know, we can see multiple crazy projects here that are all undervalued. And I'll just point out a few of these so you can understand how wild the scenes are. Look, Aptos is what? $3. Look at ONDO. Look at ONDO's price. 74 cents. Asta would be a fantastic trade at $1 or below, right? Even Wellcoin, if you're actually a trader, and I said, you know, last time I mentioned Wellcoin, people were like, oh, you know, it's not the purest form of, you know, it's central. No, we're talking about trading, potentially trading something to the upside, right? So you do have right now, look at Kaspa here. Look at Kaspa's price, man. Kaspa's price is ridiculous, right? Kaspa is so underrated right now that the price doesn't even reflect what's going to happen. 5 cents. Now, the top 100 is always very tricky. Look, Algorand is another one that you can trade. Pump Fund, to be honest, it's already run up sub 1 billion. ICP is what, $3? I see ICP maybe coming down a bit more. But these are the ones that I'm kind of interested, either trading or holding spot. The likes of ONDO, I already hold in spot. Another two that are absolutely banging, in my opinion, that you should be watching out for are these. Render at $2.50. I think that's insane. SEI has a fantastic support at 20 cents. That is a very good price. If it dips, I think we could see lower if the market crashes, right, to test the support or previous wick. But I don't think we're there. So if you've been DCAing very much on a regular basis, there's your top 100. Now, SEI and Render at these levels, to be honest, pretty cheap. I think both of these are fantastic projects. Kaspa, ONDO, very good projects here in the top 100. Of course, Aptos is a very good trade. Everybody knows Aptos will pump, but I would rather look at Aptos on a spot trade, leverage trade rather than spot. Near Protocol is good for both spot and leverage. It's one of the ones that I've been doing very well with. I still hold PEPE here. And Bitensa TAO should be one of the finest projects of the cycle. Where's TAO? TAO should be here somewhere. Hold it up quite nicely. So that's your top 100 really. What's this market update is always crucial to always flick through these and see what's going where. QNT, good trade, very good trade. Bonk has to come under $1 billion for you to trade that. Morpho is still holding very strong, but at $1 billion, it's not really, long term. I know I've been in it for a while, but Virtuals has absolutely come back and did good numbers. Virtuals is very strong, in my opinion. Every time it dips below $1, it just literally speeds back up to process here, 143. I look at that for the weekly, it's up insane. 85% from the dip. That's what I want to see. Okay, that's real strength. For those of you who hold or trade SPX 6900, I don't, and I'm not interested in it. But yeah, again, that could be a good trade because it is relatively well backed by Murad. Then you've got the likes of Immutable X. Now, Immutable, again, I'm a big Beam fan, but Immutable is around 52 cents. I think it will go beyond that in the bull market. Everything could come back down at the moment. I've always thought, you know what? I don't know if any of you hold stacks, right? Stacks is a weird one because Stacks has not had, I mean, the whole entire Bitcoin, you know, the BTC ecosystem has done nothing. But Stacks is an interesting one at 45 cents for sure. Aerodrome Finance, under $1 billion. Again, this was, you know, we were stacking this under 500 million, 200 million, 100 million. So Aerodrome Finance, I think, will do very, very well. And stuff like, I mean, I'm not into the these kind of like Curve or stuff like that. But if you're into DeFi, that's a decent one there. This is the top 200, by the way. This is everything that has fallen out of the top 100. Sonic had a good bounce. Bloody hell, Sonic is at $600 million, guys. This is absolute insanity. I can't believe it. And you know, it's only when you do these kind of exercises that you realize projects that have significant staying power here. And these projects have been fading. Look, top 200, that probably completes the top 200. Syrup here, sitting at $400 million. Gito. And look at Aether. Aether has been holding very strong. Now, I did talk about projects that will have longevity. Aether is a bear market must buy when it gets more diluted, when the market comes crashing down, because in my opinion, the entire deepen space will be one of the best areas to invest in long term. And then we continue here. Look, ApeCoin is finally showing great strength actually in relation to the market, holding very strong. Zora had a big drop. I would expect that because it's been very, very hot. And this is the top 300, guys. This is a must hold or must buy with whatever you want to call it. But that is ZEBEC. Now, ZEBEC's market cap is tiny. 353 million. Volume is also very small. And if you look at the last kind of 7 days, it's up 0.3%. I think it's a great time to actually look into ZEBEC. Merlin Chain has been dumping coins into the market. So what Merlin does is, again, you know, it's Merlin or Stacks. I think Stacks is way better. And the other one I'll be interested here is, or two more, would be Walrus and, of course, Drift Protocol. I think Drift will do very, very well with the current market cap. And, of course, Solana DeFi is going to be absolutely insane. If we go through here, we've got one of our bad boys here, Toshi. Toshi has held up incredibly well, man. Toshi's market cap ain't coming down anytime soon. 300 million. And look at the uptrend here. This is absolute, you know, the chart has only been going one direction, right? That's insane, guys. If that's not a clue here, I don't know what is. So yeah, that's still a top 300 project. You know, it's not even that huge in terms of the overall market cap. I think we'll do a PEPE. Now, unfortunately, the bread market cap has been bleeding, even though the chart itself has not been bad in terms of late, but bread at this price is just ridiculous. Now, is it over for bread? In my opinion, the reason why bread is performing like that is because of this bad boy called Toshi. Toshi is the king, and Toshi will, I think, continue to dominate. Now, this is where you're going to make crazy money, in my opinion. You guys know I love Arweave. You guys know I love Beam. Kato's a good shout, but Cookie DAO I think is better. And that, I think you'll make crazy amounts of money there, in my opinion. I think these are potentially, you know, 20 in the 20x category, guys. It's insane. So anyway, guys, smash a like. And of course, share the video. Lots of love. And I'll catch you on the next one. All right. Take care, guys.